Hello and welcome to Rando Tech Info, and today we're talking about the LG Velvet, LG's latest mobile offering. This phone was released back in May in Korea, and it has recently been released in a lot more markets with a global version of the phone. So I wanted to release a video right now and talk about this phone's connectivity and how well both versions of those phones will work here in the US. A couple quick things you need to know before you even spend any more time watching this video. LG has hinted at, and there have been a lot of rumors as well, that this phone will be released in the US eventually. No date has been confirmed and it's not official, but it's very, very possible that's going to happen. So before you even consider getting one of these versions of the phone, just know there's very likely going to be a US version, and if that does happen, you may very well want to wait to pick that up. So the question is, why am I doing this video now? Why not just wait till the US version comes out, assuming that that happens? And the reason is this phone's getting a lot of press right now, both written press, a lot of YouTubers are talking about this phone. And my fear is that if I wait another month or 2 months or whatever till we get some official word about a US release, whether it happens or not, is that people will already made the decision whether or not to get the phone. So I didn't want to wait too long to do this. If a US version does come out, I will either release a new video or I will pin a comment in the bottom of this video letting you know the details about that. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the specs of this device. Like I said, it's been covered pretty thoroughly from a lot of different sources up to this point. It has a 6.8-inch OLED screen with 1080 resolution. It's got a 4,300 milliamp hour battery, 5G connectivity, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage, and it has a headphone jack. Spec-wise, the most interesting thing about this phone is despite its $700 plus price point, it's only running a Snapdragon 765 processor. That's Snapdragon's mid-range chip, not its flagship chip, which is the 865 processor. And I guess that's because LG is trying to keep the price down, and they're also marketing this phone not so much for like power users, but almost more as a fashion accessory, similar to the way the Galaxy Z Flip was marketed a few months back. It's really going for style, and I don't want to say it's going style over substance, but that's kind of the feel of the device. I do think this is a little bit odd. Yes, a lot of people don't really care about the specs on their phone, and quite frankly, your average consumer probably doesn't even know what chip their phone uses. But those people also don't buy LG devices. The vast majority of people in the US buy Apple and Samsung devices. So I would already argue that if you're looking at an LG phone, you're already a little bit more of a tech-savvy consumer than your average consumer. That's not judgment. I just feel like that's the way it is. So the fact that they are charging this higher price for a mid-range chipped device, I think is a little bit strange, especially when you consider that the V60, their true flagship model that does have the 865 processor in it and has the dual screens and all that, isn't actually that much more. In any case, like I said, I'm not here to judge. If this is the phone you want, that's great. I'm going to tell you which version of the phone to get and which networks it will work on here in the United States. So first I'm going to tell you about the Korean version of the phone, and I'm going to use my cheat sheet over here so I don't give you any misinformation. On Verizon, you're not going to get any 5G functionality. 4G, it does use 4 out of 5 of their frequency bands. So you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, cool, I can use it on Verizon. But the one band it's missing is band 13, and that's their biggie. That's their primary frequency band. So I'm not quite sure 4G would work very well on Verizon either, and their 3G doesn't work. So I would say for Verizon, that's probably a no-go. For AT&T, there will be no 5G. For 4G, it does use 6 out of 9 of their frequency bands. And it uses all of their primary frequency bands. So you might actually get some decent coverage with AT&T, and their 3G coverage will work. So AT&T is possibly an option. T-Mobile, however, is your best option. It uses their low band 5G, their sub-6 5G, band 71, no millimeter wave. It does use all major bands of their 4G, and their 3G is good to go. So T-Mobile's actually looking pretty good. Now, Sprint is a whole nother thing, okay? First off, let's just get this out of the way. Do not buy this phone on Sprint. Do not buy any phone on Sprint right now. A lot of phones that were sold by Sprint are losing some of their functionality now as the conversion to T-Mobile is going on. In addition, a lot of phones don't work well on Sprint because they need special certification to work on Sprint's networks. This phone has not been certified by Sprint, so I would steer clear of this phone if you are a Sprint customer, at least until the network merger with T-Mobile is complete. Now, once that merger happens, the coverage for this phone should get even better because it uses Sprint's 5G bands. It uses all of its major 4G bands. So once that merger is complete, the good coverage that the Korean version of this phone gives you on T-Mobile should actually just get better. One last quick thing I want to mention before we move on to the global version of this phone. Even if you are on AT&T or T-Mobile and you want to roll the dice and try to get this thing, it is very difficult to try to buy here in the US. If you go to LG's website, it's not listed there. Like I said, it's not being sold here officially yet. And if you buy from a third-party seller, there's a very good chance the warranty will no longer be intact. So just some things to keep in mind if you're trying to decide whether to pick up this thing now or wait till the possible US release. So the global version of this phone, let's keep this short and sweet. Don't buy it. No 5G connectivity here, and 4G connectivity across all the carriers is worse than the Korean version. So I told you before, if you're on Sprint or Verizon, you probably don't want the Korean version anyway, and your coverage on AT&T and T-Mobile will suffer with the global version. This is kind of counterintuitive, but the numbers don't lie, and the supported frequency bands of the global version are actually less than the Korean version. Well, that's all the information I have today about the LG Velvet. If you do decide to pick one of these things up early and bring it over into the States, please put your experience down in the comments as far as what network you're using and how good a coverage you're getting so that other people can learn from your experience. As always, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Rando Tech Info, signing out.